And we move now to the U.S. and the latest from the 2016 presidential campaign. A day after the third Democratic debate saw candidates Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, and Martin OMalley battle it out over security and gun control. It was Republican frontrunner Donald Trump who was back making headlines. Appearing in the Sunday talk shows, Trump responded to statements said about him in the debate, calling Sanders and Clinton both liars. Now, both Democratic candidates fired criticism on Trump in their debate statements, with Clinton saying his calls to ban Muslims from entering the U.S. were being used as a recruitment tool by ISIS. Let's watch the following report wrapping up the debate, and we'll take it from there.
There were three candidates on that stage and one elephant in that room.
Yes, I apologize.
Bernie Sanders apologizing for his campaign's breach of Hillary Clinton's private voter database. Two more staffers suspended overnight.
I very much appreciate that comment, Bernie.
But this was no love fest. Clinton and Sanders tangling over everything from Wall Street.
Should corporate America love Hillary Clinton?
Everybody should.
And will corporate America love a President Sanders?
No, I think they won't. They ain't gonna like me, and Wall Street is gonna like me even less.
To gun control.
Arming more people, I think, is not the appropriate response to terrorism.
It's a country in which people choose to buy guns. That's the right of people. We have got to bring together the vast majority of the people who do, in fact, believe in sensible gun safety regulations.
But they were united, tag-teaming against former Maryland Governor Martin OMalley, trailing in the polls.
The flip-flopping political approach of Washington that both of my two colleagues on this stage have represented there for the last 40 years. We need common sense gun
Let's
safety
calm down a little bit, Martin.
Yeah, let's tell the truth, Martin.
And against the frontrunner across the aisle, Donald Trump, perhaps the even bigger elephant in the room.
And somebody like a Trump comes along and says, I know the answers.
He is becoming ISIS's best recruiter. They are going to people showing videos of Donald Trump insulting Islam and Muslims in order to recruit more radical jihadists.
Her campaign later unable to prove such video exists. Clinton delivering a few laughs too, a late arrival back to the podium during a commercial-turned-bathroom break.
Sorry.
And perhaps the most memorable line of the night.
And may the force be with you.
Good one there, Hillary. And we're joined now in studio by former Israeli Consul General to Los Angeles, Jacob Dayan.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. From I-24 News, host of The Road to the White House, Ami Kaufman.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ami. And also joining us is Jerusalem Report reporter Andrew Friedman.
Morning.
Thank you for all being here. But first, let's go to Washington, D.C., to the Times of Israel correspondent there, Rebecca Shimoni-Stoyles. So good evening to you, actually. So looking back at the debate, Rebecca, was there a clear winner?
Well, I think it depends who you ask. I think that Sanders supporters were very, very happy with his performance in the debate. And certainly Team Hillary was very, very happy with her performance. If there wasn't a clear winner between the two, then there certainly was a clear loser, which was Martin OMalley, who delivered a very pugnacious performance and actually was the only candidate to manage to get booed slightly by the audience in the course of what was, well, a debate that focused a lot on policy disagreements, also focused on the two frontrunners occasionally trying to sound congenial toward each other and kind of looking toward the bigger picture opposing Trump.
And, you know, mentioning Trump there, it's amazing how he always manages to capture headlines. He wasn't even in this debate, but his name certainly was. So talk about the latest spat between Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump with his response, and pathological liar was thrown around in there.
Well, there was certainly no love lost for Trump in this debate in general. He was certainly the fourth candidate on the stage, even if it was in absentia. You could hear him mentioned so frequently, in fact, that at times he was mentioned more frequently than some of the other Democratic candidates. Again, Martin OMalley. But in fact, what we saw was that both Sanders and Hillary have kind of been taking some more serious pokes at Trump, and for that matter, OMalley. So OMalley called him a fascist straight out. Sanders, you mentioned the fight, and what's actually had perhaps some of the most implications has been the statement made by Hillary Clinton about Trump being used for ISIS propaganda, and that's really put her campaign in an uncomfortable spot because they've spent the past 24 hours trying to prove that that exists when, in fact, apparently it doesn't.
Indeed. Well, Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us this evening from Washington. So, Andrew, we'll turn to you now. She mentioned, she mentioned that O'Malley was perhaps a clear loser in the debate if there wasn't a clear winner. So, what does he have to offer at this point? Because it really seems that Clinton and Sanders are winning all the headlines, and they're really way far ahead of him.
It's a hard question to answer. Martin OMalley seemed to be the third wheel in a two-person debate.
Certainly.
Which was a sort of a funny thing because he was the only person trying to bring some new thought to the discussion. He's the only one that mentioned American values. The others, for instance, talking about refugees or talking about fighting ISIS, both talked about tactics and strategies. He's the only one who talked about our values. He's the only one that mentioned the Statue of Liberty, sort of more traditionalist a more traditionalist approach to these issues. But as my wife came in while I was watching the debate, she looked at him and said, he couldn't beat a paper bag.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the beginning and the end of Mr. OMalley.
Yeah, and, it seemed like he was just trying to, get in like just a few arguments in there, perhaps defensive, because he wasn't really getting his 2 cents in so much. But what do you make of Sanders, Jacob? What do you make of Sanders starting the debate with an apology to Hillary Clinton amongst this whole voter issue?
Which I thought was very good because he neutralized immediately this issue, and Hillary accepted that, and it was a non-issue eventually at the debate. So I thought it was smart. But eventually, and he was, by the way, he was much better, I thought, than in the previous 2 debates. He understood that he has to go after Hillary, and he was much more aggressive. And he was good. But his problem eventually at the end of the day is that he is a one-issue person. He understands, he speaks, he feels, he lives only the economy. And when it comes to a broader issue like foreign policy, he's a much lower hand than Hillary, and this is his problem. So she could have she stroked points. She was actually much better than him in the foreign policy issue, and he was very good and very passionate when it came to the economic issues.
Mm-hmm. And at a time when Obama's foreign policy has been highly criticized across the world, I mean, is this what people want to hear more so than perhaps domestic issues, is strong foreign policy from Hillary Clinton?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why the past, I guess, week or two, both Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton have been campaigning a lot on foreign affairs and saying how they can beat ISIS, because that's what the Republicans on the other side are talking about, especially in the last debate. They were talking a lot about ISIS. But I do agree with Jacob that Sanders has a problem, that he is somewhat of a one-trick pony, talking always about the economy, but I think he has to make a stronger message of how the economy, how all that money that he talks about that always goes to the 1%, affects foreign policy and makes it harder to change foreign policy, because only a certain a small amount of people are really calling the shots.
And returning now to Donald Trump, it's like the one thing that these candidates can really agree on is that they hate Donald Trump. So I just want to return to this whole issue of talking about him so much during the debate. Is that perhaps hurting them by any chance by bringing his name back up in the headlines?
I think one of the most important things to remember about the debate and the whole run-up to 2016 is that until people start voting at the beginning of February, nothing's really happened yet. We learned this here in Israel back in March when polls were showing a defeat for Benjamin Netanyahu and the Likud, and the next day came around and there he was, right, having won the election. Yeah. So I would say wait until February 1st and the Iowa caucus, February 9th, and the New Hampshire primary, Super Tuesday on March the 1st. And then we'll have a much clearer view of the way the race actually looks. We can expect that candidates will begin dropping out at that point.
I agree with that because the national polls are so far away, but you might want to take a closer look at what the polls are saying in Iowa, where people are starting to really think a lot more seriously about who they're going to vote for. And there you can see that Ted Cruz is, in some polls, actually ahead of Donald Trump already. So those are the more important polls to really look at, the state-by-state polls.
It is true for the Republican primaries. It is less true for the Democratic primaries because Hillary, even yesterday, the debate, she was referring to the Republicans more than she was referring to the Democrats. She's already being perceived as the clear winner of the Democratic primaries. So I think it's true for the Republican primaries, and we have to refer much more to the state-by-state polls more than the national polls, which are much more important. But nevertheless, in the Democratic primaries, it seems like it's a done deal. Unlike 2008, which Hillary was a clear winner against Obama, but Obama was gaining a lot of strength in primaries after primaries. But nevertheless, here it looks and it seems, and she referred to it as a done deal.
And although perceived as the front runner, Hillary was in a bit of a tough position here in New Hampshire because this is where the debate took place, and that is where Sanders is currently leading. So she really needed to heighten herself in order to get more voters there.
I think she did.
And you think she succeeded?
I think she did. I think she is looking polished. I think she's on message. I think she looks good. I think she's speaking well in a manner that even 2 or 3 years ago she wasn't. 2 or 3 years ago I would have said she is yesterday's news. She's been running for president since her husband left the White House. It's enough. And I've actually been quite surprised over the last several months that she looks good. She doesn't have the sort of undefinable objectionableness that so many people have talked about Hillary over the years. She was much more congenial. She was much easier to listen to, and I think that's going to serve her well. And I think it did serve her well, even in something of a hostile setting like New Hampshire.
Indeed. And there was a moment there where she went missing, Ami.
Yeah,
let's
they
talk
went
about
for a
that
commercial
strange
break, and apparently she went, I don't know, to tweet something maybe, or she went to the bathroom, and she just didn't get back on time. And we see her while the moderator is asking Bernie Sanders a question, and suddenly she just kind of walks behind him, and she just says sorry when she gets to the microphone. I thought that was a bit disrespectful. I thought it kind of showed how she thinks that she has this whole thing in the bag. And I just thought it was a really funny moment. Really, really funny moment.
It's funny that you say that because, sorry, I thought she actually, she smoothed what could have been a very uncomfortable moment.
But basically, Bernie Sanders missed the moment because he could have made...
He could have used that, you think?
Exactly. He could have used that, and they all skipped that. And that was a great moment to use.
Right.
What, like, you're so rude, Hillary? Where have you been?
You're so rude,
not
but,
up?
missing in action, doing something, and they all ignored that, and she was soaring and very smoothly entered the debate again.
Yeah, it could have been a classic Republican-style debate comment under there.
It's important to note that this debate so far has the lowest ratings of any debate in the whole campaign on both Republicans and Democrats. There are already conspiracy theories that are going around about why the Democrats are putting their debates on very strange dates. For example, on a Saturday, which is on the weekend. You just do not put a debate on the weekend, as if there are conspiracy theories that Hillary is just trying to kind of numb people, and make people bored about it, and just make it easier for her. I don't know if that should be believed or not. I'm just putting it out there. But yes, this so far has gotten the lowest ratings of any debate.
Only 9 million watched the debate. I thought the Republican debate was 18 million or something like that.
No, it was even more. I think it was about
Even
25 million.
25
Probably one of the
million?
most televised events in television
And
history.
you know what?
They don't have Donald Trump.
I believe it's because of Trump. I think people are just waiting. He's extremely entertaining, like him or not. But he really, I think, is the reason why people are watching. And there's so many candidates. I mean, it's such a ping pong, and it really is entertaining to watch. So
Trump is the best show in town, and it looks like in the Democratic side, it looks like it's a done deal. So it's much less interesting.
yeah. So OMalley will drop out soon. Are these predictions?
It's hard for me to see why he's staying in the race. My sense is that he got in the race because you couldn't just have Hillary running almost unopposed.
And the name recognition as well. You know, no one heard about OMalley before the debate, so I think he's gaining the.
Yeah, it's worth it for him. He's still on the main stage compared to other people on the Republican side who I really don't know why they're in there, like Pataki, or on that junior debate where people really never watch. It's even worse on that side.
Yeah.
In the Republican side, I'll go back to the point that the previous point. There can always be surprises. People that are not polling well today. Once you get to Super Tuesday, you'll see, well, hang on, someone like a Chris Christie or a Pataki, I don't know, and they would be surprises, but surprises happen.
Marco Rubio is doing better now in the polls than Obama did in 2008. He's in a better position than Obama in 2008.
Interesting. Well, we do have to end on that note, but Andrew, Jacob, and Ami, thank you all very much for being here. And coming up next...